In 2010, a bold, young man named Mikage made the claim that RPGs were dead or otherwise dying, and that he, through the hard work of his company, will bring new life to them. The last game this man made was called Stella Glow, and that game came out in 2015, developed by Imageepoch and published by Atlas in North America. Stella Glow is a turn-based tactical RPG, very much in line with games like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, or Shining Force. Some people call this an SRPG for simulation role-playing game. I prefer just the blanket term tactical RPG. The game starts off with our main character, Alto, and his obvious love interest Lisette and her family in a small farming village detached from the main areas of the game. It doesn't take very long before we hit the RPG cliches. And this game is absolutely loaded with them. While I won't point out a whole lot, just bear in mind that there's going to be a whole lot more in the game than what I mentioned in the video. Cliché number 1. Alto, our main character, has amnesia. Alto was found by Lisette years before the game started. He had no memories and didn't even know his name, so he was given a name and taken in by Lisette and her family. On the topic of his name, we hit cliché number 2. As with all things music-based in RPGs, certain character names must have something to do with music. While this isn't as appalling and cheesy as Eternal Sonata was with its naming scheme, Alto is still named after music. An alto is somebody who sings in the highest vocal range, second only to a soprano. One day, while wandering through the woods just outside of his village, our titular hero Alto hears singing. In this world, singing is something that can only be done by witches, and witches are a very, very rare breed of person, and the only type of person who can use magic. The Moe witch Hilda gives Alto a warning to escape as danger is about to befall his town, leading us to cliché number 3. While Alto manages to escape with Lisette, our hero's hometown is destroyed. A necessary plot device that seems to force our heroes on a world-saving journey, but a plot device that is used just entirely too often. Hilda's song encased all the people of the village in crystal. It isn't revealed until far later in the game that this is to save their lives, leading us right into cliché number 4. The antagonist of the story believes the destruction, or in this case, the freezing of all life is the only way to save life and to save humanity from themselves. Hilda's not the only antagonist in this game who believes this either. But to avoid any big story spoilers, we're just gonna leave it at that. So Lisette and Alto manage to escape, but only because of cliché number 5. Shauna is the star child. Right, this isn't Legend of Dragoon. Lisette is a witch. She had a long dormant power that came to fruition as a deus ex machina. However, her newfound power alone was not enough to save them. A group of soldiers known as the Regnant Knights come to their aid just in the nick of time. Fast forwarding the story a bit, Alto displays his power to these knights and gets a fast ticket into joining them. He is also discovered to be the only one who can activate the dormant power of witches and unleash their full potential. Speaking to Queen Anastasia in the country's capital, the team discovers that Hilda the Witch has been destroying towns all over the country, and that the only way to reverse her song's crystallization spell is to gather 4 witches and perform one powerful hymn. This is where the game begins to hit its stride. The next 20 to 30 hours will be spent going from one corner of the map to another gathering these witches. So let's talk about the mechanics of the game. The game is divided into a couple different segments. You have free time and mission time. Between each of these are visual novel segments where the story unfolds. It's in the visual novel segments we get to realize that While every character in the game does have a basic and generic character archetype, their writing is simply fantastic, and the voice actors assigned to play each role do an absolutely outstanding job performing them.
Stop messing around. Killing people is not our goal here.
But Hilda said I could kill anyone who fought back, you know? They're real dum-dums. We're just gonna pretty them up a bit.
In that case, do not allow a single one to escape.
Yeah, I get it, Beardy. All right, the whole town's sealed. Just gotta wait for Hilda's song.
Those two should be here by now.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hilda!
Dorothy, Rodolph, well done.
The characters in the game and the game's writing, while working with so little, are the strongest parts of the game. Most characters are immediately relatable, understandable, endearing, or otherwise charming. It's hard to find a character that you simply outright dislike, or a character that just cannot bring a smile to your face. Free time segments are limited to 3 event opportunities. Visiting shops to craft power-ups or buy and equip new armor do not count as events, and will not take away any of your free time. Free time is best used spending time with your teammates. Each time you choose to go out with a teammate, you will use one of your 3 event opportunities during the free time segment. Going out with your teammates will raise your relationship level with them, furthering their usefulness in battle, and even going so far as determining the endings you can get within the game. Spending time with the witches works almost the same way. However, when you reach new relationship levels with them, it's revealed that they cannot fully power up, as they have insecurities preventing them from doing so. This leads us to witch tuning. Witch tuning also uses 1 event opportunity and also costs some of your well-earned cash. Tuning takes the form of a small visual novel section, broken in half by a battle sequence that takes place in what I can really only refer to as the mind space, or the essence of the witch's being. These battles are representative of tearing down the witch's insecurities so that your relationship with them can increase. These battles have some very odd spikes in difficulty from time to time, but are for the most part pretty easy. One other thing you can do in free time is explore. What this does is show you a single visual novel event which typically only has 3 to 5 lines of dialogue in it. It's typically just, well, look where I walked. Oh, I found something. I found this to be a huge waste of time. But there are some items in the game that can only be found through this mechanic. Personally, I'd rather strengthen the relationship levels of my party. And the last thing you can do during free time is pick up odd jobs for money. This also isn't really worth it unless you can get the job levels up really high. The longer you work for certain people, the more perks they give you, such as 10% off in their store. But at least, for your first playthrough, just focus on the relationship building. Money isn't hard to get in this game anyway. Moving on now to mission time. Mission time starts the same, always. You get a mission, then you depart from the town and you go and do it. The map outside of town is just a series of connected dots that auto moves between. This is actually the state of the whole game outside of battles. There is no such thing as free movement. You simply select your destination and appear there. Navigation is simple, but can leave much to be desired if you're not somebody who likes such strict rails, or would simply just prefer more openness in a game. On the map, you can see enemy encounters scattered about. Some are red and others are black. The red ones require play coins to take part in, but are really just slightly harder versions of the black ones. The black ones are just normal battles that seem to scale in difficulty depending on where you are in the story. It's up to you whether or not you choose to do any of these, however, unless you really need the money, I see no reason to bother. The game keeps a pretty fair difficulty throughout. Most of the time, you'll just move across the map until you arrive at the destination of your storyline battle. Battles work pretty typical to most tactical RPGs. Character speeds determine turn order, you move on a grid, and you move shorter distances if you are on a terrain type your character does not agree with. The terrain also has different levels of altitude, which can cause issues, as not all characters can climb up to the ledges the enemy may be on, and this unfortunately means that character for that battle may end up being completely useless, and you can't switch him out once you're in there. A mechanic I actually only learned about from the trailer of the game but never actually used is the ability to manipulate the environment. Is there a patch of water that might slow you down to walk on? Well, cast the right spell and freeze it. You can also expel poison clouds in the same way. A cool addition, but not well enough executed to be one many will bother with. Attacking enemies launches cinematics that can be turned off at any time during your turn. Personally, I found with them turned on, the battle was just too slow. With cinematics on, you see damage dealt both in the cinematic and again immediately after it ends from the view of the battle map. It's redundant and frankly annoying. My attention span isn't quite long enough for that. With the cinematics turned off though, battle goes at a great pace. Each character has skills unique to them, and using skills drains your SP meter. The witches, in addition to skills, also have songs. Songs require the use of this meter here, the song gauge, which is charged gradually over the course of battle by giving and receiving damage. Alto, as well, while standing next to a witch, can conduct her to use a song far more powerful than they can sing on their own. These are kind of like dailies in Dungeons and Dragons games. They require a massive investment from the song meter and will prevent the singing witch from acting for several turns. That said, these can easily turn the tide of a battle. Some of the songs Alto can conduct from the witches will do things like upping the attack and defense of your entire party. Maybe prevent the entire enemy party from attacking or even moving at all. Another song will regenerate your entire party's health pool and SP meter every time the witch's turn comes around until the song ends. Some of these border on feeling overpowered, but as using them comes at such a high cost, and the battles toward the end game require some extra due diligence, I really can't bring myself to complain about it. On the bottom screen of the 3DS, you can see in depth the stats of any unit highlighted, what they might be holding, and what bonuses or benefits they have, whether they be your own unit or an enemy one. Also on this screen, you can switch between different tabs to show the moves of the highlighted unit, or the battle conditions. More often than not, the battle win condition is to defeat all the enemies or the boss, where the battle lose condition is almost always the death of Alto, your main character. It's always important to check the screen, however, as each battle also has special conditions which grant more rewards at the end of battle. These special conditions are usually mundane things such as get the first strike or X character kills X amount of enemies. This battle system is nothing new, but it is also a very good and very comfortable old-school tactical RPG battle system with enough of a new feel to it to keep my attention. The only issue I had in the battles is the limited enemy types. It feels like the game really only had about 20 different enemies. It uses them well and battle never really got boring, but all the reskins have the same voiceovers and sound effects, and by the 30-hour mark, I was really tired of hearing the goblins kick noise before they attack. And where the game took me 50 hours to complete, you can imagine I was very tired of this. The game is divided into 12 main chapters, the last of which simply being referred to as Chapter X, and the first being a prologue. It really feels like the midpoint of this game is at Chapter 8, however, as this is where the story radically changes pace and the difficulty finally picks up. The game has no shortage of rich background lore and amazing plot twists in store, though even some of these plot twists come with their own cliches. For example, cliche number 5. When one of your characters leaves or dies for story reasons, they pull a Legend of Dragoon and replace them almost immediately with somebody of almost the exact same battle type, so it feels like they never left at all. Unrelated to this, but RPG cliche 6. Let's put the final battle on the moon, cause that's never been done before, or cliche 7. Giant fucking tree, aka Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil? However the fuck you pronounce this. If I have to hear that name, or see that plot device one more time in an RPG, I'm really getting sidetracked. I'd like to classify the use of divas singing in a battle as a cliche as well, but... well, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to. Cliche number 8. The battle effectiveness of singing. While this was never really prevalent in the old JRPGs Stella Glow aims to be, it's definitely a cliche now with games like Tokyo Mirage Session or Omega Quintet. But, on the note with the divas and all that, let's talk about the music in the game. For all the things in this game that are generic or simply ordinary, the music is outstanding. Even the J-pop songs the witches sing were great. And I generally hate J-pop. The usual town music brought to mind the tunes in Fantasy Life or other games like Animal Crossing. Some music during story elements and scenes brought to mind the crazy tunes from the first Ghost in the Shell movie. The battle music at times was just epic and great to hear. Honestly, the music in the game is so extraordinary and just borrows inspiration from so many places, I really can't fault it. So, I rambled a lot here about something that probably by most extents sounds like a very ordinary game, so let's round this up really quick. The story starts off slow and is pretty cliched, but really picks up and sucks you in with its lovable cast of bodacious, sometimes scantily clad cuties and the men who fight for their honor. The battle system is nothing new, but is the kind of old that we want, even if it sometimes struggles to hit a comfortable enough level of difficulty to always remain entertaining. Always entertaining or not, however, the battles do always feel rewarding. The music is superb, and the sound effects are fine, however, certain enemy dialogue gets incredibly annoying to hear due to its repetitive nature. With many additional ends to find, character relationship levels feel worth it to raise, and if you're not interested in the multiple endings, then maybe the better moves you get through relationship development, or the sexy outfits you unlock for maxing a relationship level will change your mind. For as long as I talked, you may have realized that this game sounds almost as ordinary as a game of this type can be, but you know what? That's great. In fact, that's just perfect. That's exactly what I wanted from this. Too many games in this genre I struggle to find entertaining enough to get through these days. Too much innovation for the sake of it obfuscates what should simply be a fun, yet sometimes intellectually challenging game of Japanese chess. At least, I assume this is what Japanese chess is like. They do tend to make things more complicated than they need to be. So this game may not have saved JRPGs, as it couldn't even save itself with its measly 0.22 million sales worldwide. But JRPGs didn't need saving. Anyway, that's all for me and my thoughts on Stella Glow. Thanks for watching.